Hello and welcome to our series on answering the most common prompts in the Master of Social Work personal statement. My name is Michelle and I'm the founder of MSW Helper, which is a resource hub for people who are applying to Master of Social Work programs. Check out our channel to see our responses to how to answer all of the common MSW application prompts. So today we are going to be talking about how to answer prompts that have to do with your experiences with diversity, self-reflection, and anti-racist practice. Schools of social work ask this question because these are central tenets of the social work profession. The key focus of social work is primarily a social justice-based lens. So schools want to see that you are aligned with these values. They also want to reflect on your critical thinking skills and your ability to reflect and grow professionally. This will show them that you are ready to pursue a social work career and to engage with important topics in the social work curriculum. So to answer this prompt, I recommend reflecting on experiences that you've had with diverse individuals, times when you have developed a deeper awareness and understanding, or times when you engaged in advocacy. It's really important to provide specific examples, and I'm going to go through and show you some different ways that you can go about answering the question, as well as some examples of how to do so. You may want to discuss moments where working in diverse environments challenged or enriched your perspective and reflect on its significance in your personal or professional life. So as an example, while volunteering in a community center serving immigrant families, I learned to adapt my communication style to bridge language barriers and ensure that clients felt understood and respected. When answering this prompt, you may also want to explain how you have critically examined your own biases, assumptions, and privileges. Be sure to discuss how these lessons will inform your future social work practice. So as an example, during my undergraduate studies, I realized my limited understanding of systemic racism. This prompted me to educate myself through workshops and literature, which deepened my empathy and commitment to addressing inequalities in my future career. Example 2, after realizing that I unintentionally reinforced stereotypes in a group project, I reflected on my assumptions and worked to educate myself on cultural humility. And then example number 3, while working with a client, I noticed that they were apprehensive towards me. At the time, I took it personally, but over time, I realized that the client had poor experiences with social services and other institutions in the past, and I realized that my position of power as a white woman in a child welfare role did not feel safe to them. You may also want to reflect on actions that you have taken to challenge racism in your personal, academic, or professional life. So example number 1, as a caseworker, I advocated for equitable resource allocation by challenging discriminatory policies that disproportionately affected Black families accessing housing support. Example number 2, in my role as a teacher, I revised the curriculum to include contributions from underrepresented groups, fostering critical discussions about systemic inequalities. Something that is really important to do as you are thinking of some of these examples for your personal statement is to connect back to social work practice. How will that experience or lesson carry forward in your social work career, and how will it inform your practice? So here are some examples of that. I realized how important it is to remember that people who belong to groups are not homogenous and to always be open to learning when meeting a new client. Example number 2, I recognize the power dynamics that come into play when working with marginalized communities as a social worker who was a member of several privileged identities. And then example number 3, while this experience taught me the importance of including marginalized communities in conversations about things that impact them, I recognize the systemic challenges that run deeper than what happens in the classroom and the importance of addressing the root cause of racism and discrimination. All right, let's talk about some mistakes to avoid when answering this prompt. One of the biggest mistakes that we see is applicants being too general or vague in their response and not providing concrete examples. So they'll say things like, I value diversity, or I'm committed to anti-racist practice, without providing a concrete example to show how they are committed in those ways. Admissions committees want to see specific examples that demonstrate your values and actions, not surface level agreements that diversity and anti-racism are important. Another big mistake we see is applicants failing to acknowledge their personal biases, mistakes, and areas of growth. By avoiding critical self-reflection, it may appear to admissions committees that you don't feel that you have anything to learn. Sometimes applicants worry that by admitting that they made a mistake, that they're hurting their chances of acceptance to social work programs. But the truth is, no social worker is perfect, and the first step to improving is admitting when you made a mistake and showing how you grew from it. So be sure to show humility and a willingness to grow by reflecting on moments where you faced challenges, learned something new, or challenged your perspective. Another big mistake we see is applicants simplifying the work of anti-racist practice. So sometimes they will not address it in a meaningful way, or they reduce it to passive learning. So for example, they'll say, I read a book about racism, or I attended a cultural competency training. Therefore, I am prepared to work with diverse populations. The issue with that is that attending a training or a workshop does not make you well versed in any one person's life experience. So it can come off as a bit reductive to suggest that by attending a 1-hour training or reading a book that you know that person. So instead, admissions committees want to see how you have actively engaged in anti-racism. While education might be one piece of that, it's also important to highlight specific actions that you've taken and to show that you are doing the work, so to speak. And the last big mistake is centering yourself in inappropriate ways. So it's really important not to frame yourself as the savior or the hero when discussing your interactions with marginalized communities, because it can come off as patronizing or show a lack of respect. So for example, while editing personal statements, we'll often see applicants say things like, I helped a client who was helpless, or I empowered them. These are not strengths-based statements. So instead, you want to emphasize collaboration, mutual respect, and share what you have learned by working in the communities that you have worked with. I hope this has given you some guidance on how to respond to prompts about self-reflection, diversity, and anti-racism. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. And if you are looking for support with your application, I encourage you to visit MSW Helper, where you can get free resources as well as connect with an application advisor who can help you craft your response to questions just like this one.